Party popper bottled with popping corks celebrating Coco Gauff, the new Wuhan champion. Glowing star her journey to greatness. The lights of Wuhan flickered like constellations reflected on the earth. Beneath that sea of golden brilliance, inside the colossal Optics Valley Arena, one name carried through the night like a song, Coco Gauff. She stood there, tears glistening, hands trembling around the golden trophy that shimmered under the floodlights. Around her, thousands chanted, shouted, cried, and cheered, all bound by one truth. They had just witnessed greatness. For Coco, this wasn't merely another title. It was a proof of years of sacrifice, belief, and rebirth. The Wuhan Open 2025 wasn't just another tournament. It was a symbol of destiny. Her journey from a little girl with big dreams to a woman who defined her own empire. A fire ignited in Florida, long before the roaring crowds and flashing cameras. There was a little girl hitting balls under the humid Florida sun. Delray Beach, where everything began. At just 6 years old, Coco Gauff was already different. Her father, Corey, recognized it instantly. Her focus, her refusal to quit, her intensity that seemed far beyond her years. Her mother, Candy, guided her mind as much as her heart, reminding her that greatness means nothing without humility. Coco's childhood was painted with early mornings and late nights, endless hours of training, sweat, and unwavering determination. While others played, Coco prepared. While others dreamed, Coco acted. She once said in an early interview, "I don't want to be the next Serena. I want to be the first Coco." Those words, spoken by a teenager, carried the spirit of a warrior, one that the world would come to know intimately. The spark that shook Wimbledon. When Coco Gauff burst onto the world stage at 15, defeating her idol Venus Williams at Wimbledon, the tennis world gasped. A child beating a legend, a full-circle moment of passing the torch. That victory didn't just make headlines. It shattered barriers. Suddenly, Coco became the face of a new generation, bold, fearless, and unapologetically herself. But fame, as she quickly learned, is double-edged. The pressure of expectations, the constant comparisons, the scrutiny, it was enough to break many. But Coco never cracked. She grew stronger. She learned to carry the weight, not as a burden, but as a crown. The transformation years, the seasons that followed tested Coco's soul more than her skill. There were heartbreaks, early exits, self-doubt, criticism. There were nights she questioned everything. But in every loss, Coco found a lesson. In every tear, she found a reason to rise. Her father told her once during a long night of silence after a tough defeat, "Champions aren't made when they win. They're made when they keep showing up after they lose." Those words etched themselves into her being. And slowly, piece by piece, Coco rebuilt herself, not just as a tennis player, but as a complete competitor. When 2025 arrived, Coco wasn't chasing validation anymore. She was chasing excellence. Enter the Dragon's Den, Wuhan 2025. The Wuhan Open stood as one of the fiercest battlegrounds on the WTA circuit. The Asian leg of the season was known for intensity, long rallies, tough conditions, unforgiving humidity. But Coco arrived with a different aura. There was confidence in her stride, a glint in her eyes. Reporters sensed it. Fans whispered it. Coco wasn't here to participate. She was here to conquer. Her draw was brutal, filled with seasoned champions and rising stars. But Coco's journey in Wuhan will become one of the most commanding campaigns in tournament history. The early rounds, rhythm, and ruthlessness. In her first match, Gauff's game was pure electricity. Serves like thunder, forehands like fire. Her opponent barely found time to breathe. 6-1, 6-2. The crowd roared, sensing the spark of something extraordinary. Each round felt like an evolution. In the second, she showcased poise, turning defense into offense with ballet-like footwork. In the quarters, she stared down adversity, saving break points with calm precision, smiling even under pressure. There was joy in her tennis again, the rhythm of her movements, the way she played each point like art. It was Coco unleashed, the semifinal symphony. By the time Coco faced Jasmine Paolini in the semifinals, anticipation had reached fever pitch. Paolini, the Italian powerhouse, had been in brilliant form. But Coco was on another planet. The match was fierce, yet elegant. Backhands down the line. Explosive cross-court winners. It felt like watching poetry in motion. At 5-3 in the second set, Coco stood ready to serve for the match. The crowd hushed. The ball tossed high, boom. An ace down the tee. Victory sealed. 6-4, 6-3. As she clenched her fists and looked skyward, tears of belief sparkled in her eyes. She was in another final, one step away from rewriting her story once more. The final, America versus America. When the final lineup was announced, Coco Gauff versus Jessica Pegula, it was a headline match made for history. Two Americans, two different paths. Pegula, the veteran of strategy and consistency. Gauff, the fiery youth of passion and power. The match carried more than points. It carried legacy. For Coco, it was about proving growth. For Pegula, it was about defending pride. As the players walked out, Wuhan was alive with anticipation. Chinese fans waved both American and tournament flags. You could feel it. That electric hum before the storm. Clash of Titans. The first set began like a heavyweight bout. Pegula's deep returns tested Coco early, but Coco responded with fire. Every rally stretched the limits of physical and mental endurance. Every shout, every grunt, every fist pump added to the drama. At 3-3, Coco raised her game to another level, sending laser-like winners past Pegula's defenses. With a roaring forehand and a deafening crowd behind her, she took the first set 6-4. The second set was a war. Pegula pushed back hard, forcing deuce after deuce. But Coco stood unshaken, her maturity showing in her calm between points. At 5-3, championship point arrived. The world held its breath. Pegula served. Coco attacked. The rally began. 10 strokes, 12-14, until Pegula's final backhand sailed wide. Silence. Then eruptions of joy. Coco fell to her knees, hands covering her face, overwhelmed by emotion. The legacy in motion. The Wuhan title made her the youngest player in a decade to win 3 WTA 1000 events. But numbers don't define her legacy. Impact does. Coco Gauff is more than a champion. She's a movement. A reminder that passion, hard work, and authenticity can change the world. As one journalist wrote, Coco doesn't just play tennis. She plays with the heartbeat of everyone who ever dared to dream. As the Wuhan skyline faded behind her on the flight to her next destination, Coco looked out the window, her reflection in the glass, her trophy tucked safely beside her seat. She whispered softly to herself, "This is just the beginning." And somewhere deep within, the little girl from Delray Beach smiled, proud of the woman she had become. Because Coco Gauff's story isn't just about winning titles. It's about believing in something bigger than yourself, about turning setbacks into comebacks, and about shining light where the world needs it most. So here's to Coco, the Wuhan champion, the dreamer turned doer, the girl who became greatness. Glowing star tennis red heart. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like and share. Till next time.